I purchased a antique that was a smoking pipe that belonged to a very prolific serial killer. And I was
Did you
haunted.
know that when you bought it?
Yes, it was.
So
one
you
of
bought
those,
it with the intention of knowing that like this belonged to a serial.
Yeah, but the problem is it's not just any serial killer. It was Ted Bundy.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Hey everyone, welcome to the ZHZ Podcast. I'm Zach and I'm here with my co-host Matt. We're back with another awesome episode for you.
Yeah, today we've got Jake Johnson from Guillotine joining us. He's the vocalist and lead guitarist from this killer industrial metal band from Nashville.
Jake's got a wild story from learning guitar as a kid to putting on insane live shows with fire dancers. We're super excited to hear all about it.
So let's jump in and get to know Jake Johnson and the world of Guillotine.
Jake, tell us about your early life and how you got started in music now.
So it's really funny. A lot of people in my world know me for being the stepson of the bass player from Bon Jovi, so they think that it's just been rock and roll and private planes and luxury and all that stuff. But in reality, it was a lot of it. I was born and raised in West Valley, Utah. I lived in a trailer the first year of my life. My mom and my dad then moved to Lake Point, Utah. Don't bother Googling it. It's fine. It's right outside of Tooele, Utah, which...
Yeah, I know where Tooele is.
Pretty much our biggest claim to fame is the Flying J.
Yeah, been there.
It's a nice Flying J, though, and it's, as Flying J's go, it's top-notch.
Yeah, they have plenty of lot lizards, and, they have a great soda machine. They have a Denny's that's bussin'.
Yep.
I got the lights on there for a long time. But yeah, I was born and raised in Tooele, Utah.
Okay.
And that's where I kind of started my life. And my parents split, and then Mom met Hugh, the bass player, and my life completely changed from there. And it's been a very weird life where one day it's rock and roll, it's backstage at Madison Square Garden, it's all these crazy things. But then the next minute it's I'm branding cows. Or you ask me to you asked me to do this like hetero shit. I'm over here just like wanting to be an artist and play guitar and draw and all this stuff, and I'm like having to hold down a cow, and I'm like, I'm sorry. So it was
yeah.
It builds character. So that was life. And it's funny, I was born deaf. I had really tight ear holes, so I had to get tubes put in my ears, and I was deaf for the first year of my life. Yeah, go figure, right? Now I love noise, and now I'm just deaf from the amount of noise I put into my skull. It's like completely different.
Deafness.
Yeah, now you're
man.
self-inflicting it. Yeah.
Now I'm deaf for realsies. Damn it. What? Sorry.
But you earned that shit.
What?
But you earned that shit.
No, I earned it. Absolutely. Well, I'm also a whore for metal amps and things, so I go into a storage unit and just crank up loud amps for funsies because it's awesome. It's good. Therapeutic, good for the soul. Same as bowling. But yeah, I was bouncing back and forth from like 8 to 10 years old. I lived in New Jersey with my mom and my stepdad because I'm like, look, I'm living at the base of a mountain in Tooele, Utah. It's cold. It sucks. I'm not a rodeo kid. I'm not a farmer. And the only things you can do in Tooele, Utah are fight, farm, fuck, or fentanyl. So I had to get out of there.
Yeah.
So I bailed and I went to New Jersey just to meet friends. There was a music scene. Everyone knows, Bruce Springsteen, Bon Jovi, Southside Johnny. It showed me there's a thing about music. There's a scene and there's something beyond the mountains, because when you're born, it's kind of like how animals, when they're isolated from other of their same species, when they feel away and they don't know that there's something beyond being like a cat or a dog, whatever animal they are, and they don't know how to act with other of the same species. It's the same way where I'm at the base of a mountain. I don't know what's beyond that mountain. I didn't know Nashville existed until like 10 years ago.
Right.
Yeah. So, but then the tourist thing happened and here I am.
That's awesome, man. It reminded me of that, the Allegory of the Cave. I don't know if you ever heard of that book, but it's basically saying like, you don't know how good it is if you've never, until you step outside of that, what you're used to, and, subject yourself to a whole new kind of world that you didn't know existed until so anyway.
Yeah. And to make a long story long, it was like Jersey. And then we came back to Utah because my mom's parents were not doing well. and have since passed. And life has just been in Utah for a while until it's like my mom and my sister on a whim, they had a big fun bitch trip out to Nashville, and they raise hell, and they're like, oh, Nashville's the best. There's bars everywhere.
We gotta go.
There's venue. We gotta go. Yeah. Yeah. Huge surprise. A white woman wants to move to Nashville, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go figure. I'm part of the problem.
Right.
But that's what happened. We ended up moving to Nashville. I graduated high school a year early. I didn't quite get out to Nashville as soon as I wanted to, but it was a lot of self-discovery with my sexuality and just what I wanted to be as an artist. And I really tried to be something that I wasn't. And then when I moved to Nashville, pretty quickly, it was like into the waters. And I kind of got my ass kicked a little bit. And the best thing for me is getting my ass kicked. So
yeah, well, I mean, because you're with that's like the hub of professional, music industry professionals is Nashville. So
peak, and I didn't know what I wanted either.
Right.
So when I moved there, I was trying to do like very safe pop rock.
Mm-hmm.
And we opened for Bon Jovi twice, and we did arenas, and it was fucking awesome. It's great playing arenas. It's wonderful.
That's a bucket list right there. Damn.
It was huge. It was amazing. We came back and we did Vivint Home Arena. And to me, that meant more than playing Madison Square Garden, because that's what happened. We applied to do the Garden or Salt Lake. And there was a part of me that's like, please pick Salt Lake, because that'd be so cool. For me, at that point, I'm selfish.
Because where are you from?
I'm from here,
Right, yeah.
And it's like 2 years before, I'm wheeling a cart of gear into the complex, and I'm looking back at Vivint saying, I'm going to play that. I swear to God, one day I'm going to play there. Then 2 years later, I'm coming back and doing it.
Right.
Told you.
Yeah. That's badass,
Told
man.
You. And John, and a lot of people scream nepotism, but if you stood 5 seconds in the Bon Jovi camp, you're like, oh, this is like mafia. You got to earn it.
Yeah. Well, it's all business at that point, right? I mean, they got to make money.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they don't want a crappy opener. They didn't want, and we were just, what I was doing at that time was perfect for that time. But during that, I met Desmond Child. And in my pissed off going through puberty, I shop at Hot Topic and Guitar Center all the time phase, I discovered I love Slipknot, Rob Zombie, Marilyn Manson, Rammstein. And I just kind of lost it because I got more invested in high school, and Utah makes you buy flannel. So that's where I was at that point. And then when I got to Nashville, I got my ass kicked, and just life happened, and I got a job working at Hustler Hollywood in downtown Nashville. Good times, loved it. It was the best. Yeah, $250 a week to work 5 days. 8-hour days dealing with the creepiest people you've ever seen in your life. Yeah, loved it. Best job ever.
Yeah.
It was
builds
awesome.
Character, man.
Yeah, back to it. Builds character. Exactly.
Right.
So, but Nashville was so many changes, so much life. I played with so many great players, and I've gone through so many changes, figuring out what I want to do. And then like the pandemic happens. And then I had some friends at the time, and I'm still very good friends with them. And we just sat around.
So prior to that, before you get to the pandemic, it was the name of the band was what, Jake J and the Killjoys? Is that what you were, or is that after the pandemic?
Yeah. So get this. So the first Bon Jovi show in Nashville was just Jake Johnson band. But then I discovered that everyone in Nashville is the so-and-so band. So we changed it to Jake J and the Killjoys, because I'm like, that kind of sounds cool. It sounds kind of pop punk. It's a little punk.
Yeah.
It works for who we are. It's perfect. And then it just kind of rested there. And then I tried to get heavier, and I was working with a producer named Jim Lightman, who worked on Leanne Womack's I Hope You Dance. And
wow.
He worked with Nuno Betancourt on a couple of his records. So, slouch, dude. He was legit. So it was a lot of fun. But it was Jake J and the Killjoys. And then it was when Jim passed from COVID. And it bleeds. The pandemic changed everything for us.
Yeah.
I was a completely different person. And it was from that where we lost Jim. And I knew that me and my drummer, that was the only guy I had. His name is Zach Dubois. And we've been together since like 2000, pandemic time, 2020. We started talking and figuring stuff out. And it was like we had this moment where we're at the memorial and we looked at each other and we're like, something's got to give. And that's how Guillotine came to be, because I already had a song at the time called Guillotine. So it just kind of happened.
Right. Well, I got a chance to listen to some of it, and I mean, we used to feature the music here on the podcast, but I have since had to pull for YouTube copyright stuff. But it's really good, man.
Thank you.
Really good. Like, it's like almost like a horror theatrical from what I'm hearing, like the sound of it. And I guess it's just three of you, right? Is it three guys?
Yeah, it's three.
So you play guitar, and then you got a drummer and a bassist, or
that's it.
What? Wow.
That's it.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's it. And we categorize ourselves as industrial, and industrial
right
is all theatrics. It's all how you look and what sounds are you throwing into the music. That's it. Those are the two factors.
Yeah.
And
well, you guys dress the part for sure. Like based on what the images you send me, I'm just like, oh, this looks fun.
Absolutely.
You guys dress up.
It is fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm also we're not about being like these metal bands where it's all about how heavy can you be and you just kind of lose the song. I'm like, I'd rather kind of take you to a place where there's still a song for you to grip onto, and we go somewhere together.
Right.
Like, that's like
go on a journey versus just I don't know. I've always been one, like, I always appreciate the technicality of musicians. Like there's like those bands that are like bands for musicians. Like a musician's musician, that are really technical and do different time signatures and stuff, like math rock or whatever. But I've always appreciated it, but I always had like this certain point where I'm like, there's only so much you can get into that, where if you were to like put yourself in like just a general average guy listening to it, that I don't think they would, it's like you can't really dance to it. You can't, it's just kind of more of a mind trip than anything. But I could definitely appreciate there's a balance, you know what I mean? Being technical, but still carrying it to where people can enjoy it.
We have bands like Metallica and Toto. Both of them have the big hits that are kind of simple, but there's also some complexity. You realize like, oh, these are actually, even like learning Rammstein songs, I'm like, oh, these are simply deceiving. Right. And, and just add some extra thought to that. Who has had more people on the dance floor, or who has sold more records, Dream Theater or the Ramones?
I would think the Ramones.
I would say Ramones too. That would be my gut answer.
And to add to that, how many more car commercials have they been? I'm kidding. But it's just people. I learned from being here. That's like, oh, cool, you're an artist. Play "Sweet Child of Mine." Like, yeah, it's just there's something about the simply perfect.
Simplicity,
like less is more.
There's some perfection in simplicity. Well, I'm wearing a Beatles shirt, and they were really good at being simple, but yet, sophisticated in their stuff. But
it's a thing where if you fuck up a Beatles song, you're gonna know, and
everybody knows.
Absolutely.
Everybody knows. Yeah, so
I can miss half the notes in a Dream Theater song.
So did you find as you transitioned from Jake Jane to Killjoys into Guillotine? What was that process like? I mean, you was kind of a moment of, we've got to do something here. Did it kind of flow seamlessly, or was it kind of a challenge to kind of put the previous incarnation behind to adopt this new new direction?
It was as you change, there's a lot of trials and errors, and just figuring it out. That's the hardest part, and just figuring out what works, what doesn't. And the biggest thing for us was the image. Obviously, you guys have seen us now. We have a lot of neon green. There's more of like a tribal face paint.
Yeah, I put the neon green for you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah,
appreciate that.
I'm wearing tribute to you guys.
Army green hoodie.
There you go.
Yeah, we have a green thing going on. You're the only guy, Matt, doesn't have green. Damn it.
Well, you can't tell. My shirt is actually green.
It is
and
green.
Black.
Oh, there we go. We're matching a little bit. Yeah. Matching thing going on. There
I've got the soft light to offset the complexion, because I'm a Utah kid. So
right,
that's fair.
He's pasty like me with the
soft
lights on.
Not quite as pasty as you.
I am. Yeah, thank you. Well, it's also just nothing but overcast here in Nashville. So it's either I'm sunburnt pink or white.
Yeah.
Cast me in Edward Scissorhands. So with the transition, it didn't take a while. I mean, it maybe took about a year to discover like the neon green and the image and that aspect.
Yeah, you work on your brand.
But I knew like Guillotine. I'm like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I mean, there was
ruthless, actually.
Well, and honestly, to tie in with all of the branding, I think that just your logo itself, that G that's shaped like a guillotine blade, I think that's just it's talking about simple yet brilliant. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, one of our best selling shirts is just a glow in the dark green version of the G blade. I mean, even if you see it on the shirt, it's just the blade. It's that simple, and that's what I said. I'm like, Rammstein has the one symbol. The Chili Peppers have the one symbol. The Rolling Stones, the tongue. Like any dumb tattoo artist can tattoo that onto a person's skin, and that was the biggest thing for us.
Great. It's brilliant. Yeah, it's that's like our logo here is just ZHZ. That's for our little project, Z Frequency. But
yeah, it's a great logo. It looks rad.
Yeah, it's rad. And all it is letters. It's like that's it. But
less is more, man.
Yeah, less is more. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was trying to get at earlier with the whole Beatles thing. But sometimes less is more.
Yeah.
Cool. So you guys got together. You and the drummer kind of formed Guillotine. Then, well, I guess it was it was under your brainchild. But then, so did you pick up your bassist later on, or?
Yeah. So again, transitioning Jake J into Guillotine, I already had my players kind of set up, and we had a sit down talk, and I said, look, we're trying to make something metal out of Jake J and the Killjoys. It ain't working out. So we're going to stage an execution by Guillotine. So people came to this thing saying, there's a live guillotining happening in Nashville. What the hell is this? We had stage performers that were working with us that would pull down the Jake J banners to reveal Guillotine. So they're like, oh, damn it. So
yeah, like now I get it.
Now I get it. So the whole thing was, I knew from the get-go, even though we didn't get exactly into the niche that we were trying to accomplish now, the thing was always just wicked entertainment. I mean, we're all guys that loved wrestling and Fire, Beavis and Butthead, heavy metal. Yeah. We're those kids, So I was like, I want to bring back a little bit of that slice of like the early 2000s where it's like we all went to Hot Topic and Spencer's and things were just like
throw some flair in it. Yeah.
We had the Attitude Era. It was things visually and entertainment were a little bit more violent, dare say, with just the silliness of it all. It was so violent, it was silly. Can I bring that back into metal versus like this whole other thing where I'm like, I'm not relating to this at all. And we all agreed to, it's like, look, my influences are Rammstein, Static X, and Fear Factory, and Rob Zombie, Manson. This is what it's going to be, is industrial. And I'd learned that term industrial during that process as well. And then it was just studying it more and more and more, going on tour, learning more and more and more. And even now it's still evolving. That's the fun part to it. I can't really say, oh, we've evolved. We're done. It's like,
no, yeah.
It's
constantly
really
evolving.
But that's the fun part too, is I've never felt satisfied, which is a curse.
It's good. There's as long as you're hungry for it.
I think once I would imagine, I mean, I've never gotten to that point of creating, but I would imagine that if you get to the point of being satisfied, it brings along complacency, and then it stifles the flow of creativity. If you're constantly evolving, if you're never satisfied with where you are, it's going to keep that flame burning and that creative fire, increasing and growing so that you can expand and you can, try things that you've never done. And, sometimes they're going to work. Sometimes you're going to say, yeah, well, that was a nice try. But it just seems like that if you're able to keep yourself hungry and keep yourself from becoming satisfied with where you are, you're always going to be moving forward and creating something new and something fresh and something different.
Yeah. And that's what it's all about, is being different. And I try to avoid trends because nowadays, what's a trend?
Present. There's nothing. Yeah.
It's more of a fad. It really is. Now it's a fad. You could say like 70s, 80s, there was different sounds, different trends, and it worked. Where now it's like there's so much, like, well, I don't know what's what anymore. Everything is just a big melting pot.
Well, and any more trends last about 5 minutes, and they're all on fucking TikTok.
Exactly. Don't even get me started. I had a whole rant today about TikTok and Spotify, but we can cross that bridge later.
Yeah, well, we definitely. I've had some things to say about Spotify. I feel like a foreigner when it comes to TikTok. I go into TikTok land and I don't speak the language, but
yeah, again, we'll get there because I have so much to say. But I got let me get this ADD part out of my brain, then we'll get there.
Yeah. So let's.
The biggest thing with art in creating, this is why I was so attracted to industrial, was it wasn't some perfect refined thing, because even coming from Bon Jovi camp, as much as I appreciated John and Richie working together and evolving and trying new sounds and working with John Shanks, different producers, all the writing, and John, you can't say that the music he writes now is the same as he did back in 1980, whenever, or 90s. He's always evolving, which I really appreciate, and it was a great role model. But I also really appreciate Clive Barker, because
I love Clive Barker.
He's the best dude. I mean, he changed everything. I was like, I want Guillotine to be Clive Barker, H.R. Giger, Rammstein, Fear Factory, and Static X.
There you go.
Those 5 things. I want all that in one, and then splash it with neon green, because I'm like, that's gonna be fucking cool. But learning, seeing Clive, he just did stuff. He just made paintings that were jagged and shaped, and I'm like, I have a lot in my head. I paint, and I got a whole little corner in my apartment where it's dedicated to my original pieces.
Right.
And with those original pieces, it's just getting stuff out, and that's what helps with industrial. It doesn't have to be pretty. The drums sound like shit, too much mids, and I feel like it.
No, that's kind of exactly. Like
it's about the energy.
Could be good. It just depends. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not here to get the perfect Marshall amp tone or the perfect Metallica snare tone. I'm like, I want to make a song.
Right.
I want to make a piece. I want to make you feel something. And that's the joy, and that's what keeps it creative, is not learning when to abandon your piece. That's because
I get it. Well, I have a long passion for industrial music. I don't do it as much in my personal, when the band that we do is a lot of alternative rock, reggae. There's some ska, but I've always loved ska is kind of still big thing here. But
is it really?
Yeah, I mean it's not like it was in the late 90s, but it's still there. There's still bands playing. But yeah, I've always loved industrial music. That's always been my closet passion, and I'm actually I just kind of resurrected all these old songs that I wrote 4 years ago, and then I've got a cool collaboration of different artists around the area that have helped me produce these songs. Matt's been a huge part, and he's just been a part of most of them as well. And I've got 4 more left, and then it's going to be all new stuff. And I think there's going to be some more kind of that darker electronic element to it. I wouldn't call it quite industrial, but it'll be kind of somewhere in there.
Living in Salt Lake, I got to say, it does something to you when you drive through Salt Lake City and you see the big haunted house Fear Factory that's all painted up, and you see the industrial district and it's rusty and rotten and everything. You're like,
it's perfect backdrops for video and content, whatever. Yeah. I was going to ask you, what is it like being an industrial metal band in Nashville?
It sucks. I hate it.
Not a lot of, you can't book. There's not a lot of places to play, or.
I joke about it, but generally I really, it's amazing what scene is here. Is it something because we did a tour with Cyclone 9, and those guys are true industrial. So we saw the soft white underbelly of industrial. Yes. We saw the shit.
They're everywhere, but they're hidden. Yeah.
Yeah, they're hidden, but also more so. Let's say we did really well in Seattle and Portland, which are obviously more all
you'd think
liberal
more hippie
places.
Kind of style. Yeah.
Yeah. And also we did really well in San Francisco, Pennsylvania, Virginia.
I could see Virginia. But what about, how was Ohio? The Midwest, you ever play out there?
We did 2 shows in Ohio, and I kind of blame the promotion of it, because I feel like Ohio could have been a lot of fun, but the way the venues, and one of the Ohio shows, we had 2 venue changes in one day.
Oh yeah, that's just mess. That's a nightmare.
Unheard of. Yeah. It was terrible. This tour, we had venue changes. Half the band dropped out half the bands on the tour dropped out because of going into Canada. We all got COVID the first day. It was terrible.
Yeah. Sounds like a mess.
It was terrible. But Ohio it was tough for us, honestly, because I think it was just maybe the setting. But I mean, it was so cold, and everyone is just sitting there shivering and just trying to enjoy the music. And I'm like, we're trying to have fun too, man. Come on, like let's work together here. And everyone was so cold and sick.
And there's something about when you're able to read the audience, especially when the audience is pumped and you're pumped, and you start sucking in that vibe they're giving you, and you project it back out, and then it intensifies, and next thing you know, you're having like this epic show. I love that. Those are those magical,
Nothing
moments
like
there. Nothing
and I'll
like
say that
it. Yep.
The best crowd we had, without a doubt, in my entire career was in Richmond, Virginia, at this club called Fallout. And man, it was this little industrial club, and there's like body cages and sex swings around the room and shit.
Nice.
But there's a bunch of people in there that all look like they shot the Hot Topic, and the black t-shirts with maybe like 30 people. And we broke in our originals. That was the coolest part, doing all originals, and people got it. And they're like, oh, this is cool. This is like rock and metal. It's kind of neat. And then we did Sona by Rammstein, and they lost their fucking minds. And it's on our YouTube. And there's this moment.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out. Yeah. I'm going to leave links to all of your stuff too, down in the descriptions.
I appreciate that.
People can check it out on Spotify and YouTube and all that. But I have in my notes here, it says, can you tell us about the production process and themes behind your upcoming concept album, Odium? You still doing that?
Well, Odium has been out for quite a while, but nonetheless,
so this is old news
still,
then, yeah.
I mean, nonetheless, though, it's still a concept, and Guillotine is forever conceptual. So without revealing too much of what's behind my mind, Odium is the story of a person who commits, who tries to discover love and gets in this position where they're just hateful, they're angry, they put themselves into this drinking coma, they try to kill themselves, they come back. Self-destruct. They try to go back to that person, they get rejected again, and they said, well, I'm going to kill you instead. And they lose their fucking mind by the end of the album. That's the story.
Okay, so the whole album is a story.
It's Alice Cooper Ian, like Shakespearean Alice Cooper Ian. Yeah, that's kind of the thing.
Very cool.
So that's the process now. And then now we have this latest EP, Hellbound, which is literally like stepping at the gates and the steps
of hell.
Yeah, that's what's happening now. And then beyond that, it's like, we only have to wait and see.
That's great. So you're like adding themes to these like little releases that you're doing
forever. So yeah. So I want to like how'd you get to hell? It's because you go through Odium to get there.
Gotcha.
And that person, and it's just me too. It's really, it is conceptual, but I'm not like trying to force a story out. It's like what I'm going through, you're going to go through it with me. And,
nice. But so could you say that, let's say, if somebody was going to listen to, let's say, Hellbound album or EP, but they end up starting with the third track, or whatever, does it still tell its own little story in itself?
It is different.
Where somebody could relate to that and not have to like, oh, well, I need to listen to the first and second song to understand the third song.
No, it's kind of, dare say, it's like Seinfeld. You can just pick any episode and it's all good. You don't have to watch the first two episodes.
But all collectively, you're still you're encompassing that emotion or that sort of vibe that you're projecting of going through hell.
You learn with concept albums, there has to be some flexibility.
Right.
For the listener as well. So it's not just like, here's this ridiculous random story where you're like, oh my God, I don't know what's going on. Because rock operas, as we know, can be ridiculous. I mean, Rocky Horror hit it out of the park, but not everyone can be Rocky Horror. That was...
And they tried.
Yeah, they've tried. Failed. They tried to do Rocky Horror too. Failed. So the whole thing is having some room to breathe for the audience and let them have fun. And also, I'm not so specific. I really just want to have some cool, fun, colorful words, tell a story, and go back to just meat and potatoes rock and roll, where we all love Black Sabbath, Paranoid, and like Motorhead, Ace of Spades. We just want to hear some good like rock and metal things, and with cool story behind it. And it all just kind of ties together, especially with the visuals to look at it. And Odium, again, that was working before Guillotine was even born.
Oh, okay.
that's one more thing to add to that.
Guillotine is kind of your more current project then. Well, I guess it is what you guys are doing.
Project.
Like it is the project, right? Okay.
And again, it is hard for me to keep up with all this because it's there's so many layers, there's so many stories, people, and I can get carried away because my ADD is very strong. Shiny.
Well, and you're a hyper creative too, so you got probably and there's actually been several guys that we've interviewed that are hyper creative, and they've got like 5 different projects going on at the same time, and you could spend an hour talking about every single one of them. So, but you with Guillotine, I was impressed, man. I looked it up, checked them out, and you guys have a whole package. Like it's well done, it's well put together. The music is phenomenal. Do you record your stuff in your own studio, or do you have help with that, or do you have a producer or studio that you record all this stuff in?
For Odium and our mini Halloween EP called Halloween Hell Hymns, those songs were done with Jim Lightman at his studio in Berry Hill in Nashville.
Okay.
Hellbound was done with the rig you see here, like this.
So you
microphone.
did them yourself, because okay. So I was going to wonder if you did self-produce, some of your material as well, because that's kind of what we do, just because
you have to.
Yeah, it's too expensive, and well, I love to do it anyway. So like when I put stuff out, it's never the best, but I learn from it, and I just want to be better at being, mixing and engineering, and so I get into it. I'm not a tone hound or tone whore, like you say. I don't really play guitar that much, but I do write some stuff, and usually what I'll do is I come up with some bones compositions, and I send them out to people that are way better than me, and then they lay their tracks, collaborate, But I'm impressed, man. You guys sound great. You have this really cool voice about you where you can growl almost to a scream, but there's still some like tone underneath it, and then you go into a full on blown singing. I don't know how you can do that.
I wanted to ask you about that because it's like it's hard to sing like that for an extended period of time without blowing your vocal cords out, man. So do you have like certain vocal exercises or anything that you do to maintain that, or is that just kind of a God-given talent that you discovered?
Okay, more layers. Here's my like 7th onion of layers. Okay. First of all, it is very straining. But if your mind is going into it as straining, I have to tighten, I have to be aggressive, I got to growl, I got to tighten all this, and I got to scream, I got to be a tough guy. Yeah. But really, like, I've learned that, I do them like just randomly, just being a douche. I just do like impressions of like Family Guy and stuff. And you just like learn the more relaxed you are with it, the more easy it just falls out of your head because you just have these flaps in your skull making sounds. But meanwhile, it's your muscles because you have your Adam's apple, you have all this muscle, and you have your esophagus, your tongue. That's something that people don't even think about. It's like right there in your skull. Don't even think about, your tongue is pulling out. So you really have to just relax yourself. And that's the hardest part, especially you're doing metal, you're trying to get wound up and be aggressive. And what helped me the most was seeing guys like Alice Cooper or Peter Steele from Typo Negative, where they come out and they're so relaxed and they still unfortunately Peter's gone, but even well into his passing, he was able to deliver every note that he hit because he was so relaxed. And he's big. Alice, he kind of slow moving and he just is relaxed. He's doing his thing. He's confident. So I'm not a guy that's trying to be super tight. That's the hardest thing. And so it's a lot of acting into making your face look aggressive. So you're not just relaxed going, but having enough facial expression to look aggressive, and then also doing the magic that's happening just in your nose and your diaphragm, your breathing.
Would you say repetition helped you through, like, because I can imagine trying to do that like a full, let's say, I don't know how long your sets were, let's say anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes or an hour long, to do that night after night after night and not just completely blow out your voice. Like, how do you combat that?
So just to take a peek into my world, playing in downtown Nashville, the sets are 4 hours long.
So you're playing 4-hour sets?
Yes.
So you have 4 hours, and it's all like original, or you guys do covers, or you just do?
So as a hired guitar player, I do 4 hours with other people. I still sing a lot of stuff because I can sing a lot of songs. So I'm not the only guy singing, thank God. But with like Guillotine playing in downtown Nashville, we normally play like 2.5 hours because the bar we play at closes early at night.
Right.
You know, JBJ's just does that when it's just kind of slower in the evening. It's Mondays. Also, we're in the winter months, so it's like, holy shit, we're like, there's no one here because it's just winter. It's brutal. But when it's like the solid, just like it's going to be originals, it's going to be these covers, like a handful just to sprinkle in time, but it's going to be all Guillotine, 100% Guillotine. At that point, first of all, I warm up every show.
Well, yeah,
every show. It's not an option. I have to. Like I'd rather do a vocal warm up than do my makeup at that point.
Yeah. Do you have a routine? Do you like drink hot tea with lemon, and or do you have like a routine that you go through, or
just fluids? And I do I have like a 4 or 5 track scale that I just do. I do different sounds. Like I do a lot of that. I do and just different vowels and trying to drop relax.
So it's just like stretching out if you're a sports player or whatever. Same thing. You're stretching out those muscles. Yeah, that's cool. I commend you because like I don't think I could. I mean, I've always, even like here in the studio, like if I was like, oh, I'm gonna try screaming, and I get it down on a studio track or whatever, I'm like, oh, that's cool. I don't think I could ever do that over and over and over again live though. So
technique, like SpongeBob said, technique.
Right on, man.
That's all it is.
Ooh, pardon me. That was another Salt Lake earthquake there.
Say, like, did it finally happen? Is this the big one?
It could be, man. The Wasatch Fault is cracking, baby. It finally happened.
So when Yellowstone goes off, nice knowing you.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, luckily we're close enough to the caldera that, you know what, when it blows, we're gonna be ash pretty quick. So
it'll be quick.
Yeah.
I'm in Nashville, so I have more like mutant radiation to deal with.
Yeah, yours is a slow death.
The toxic cloud blocking out the sun, nuclear winter.
Yeah, I've always joked, like, if there's going to be an A-bomb or an asteroid hitting Earth, like, let my skull break its fucking fall.
Yeah, you don't want to be around after.
No.
Yeah, man. Like watching a show like Walking Dead, it's like, what would I do, man? I would hope that I was one of the first motherfuckers dead, because I wouldn't want. I don't want to know what the rest is like.
Yeah,
man. I don't think the zombie apocalypse could happen because there's so many pent up motherfuckers. I think they would just start whacking zombies and to be glad to do it.
They'd be whacking people too that weren't zombies. That was like, oh, I don't care.
Oh yeah, no. My biggest fear wouldn't be the zombies. It'd be the assholes thinking, all right, lawlessness, we're gonna rule now.
Yeah, anarchy. So,
yeah, so not even a zombie apocalypse. We had a plague, and we saw that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
zombies,
we sure
that's
did.
what it needs.
And everyone lost their, like it messed people up pretty good. So
I mean, I'm here.
Yeah, I mean, we survived it, right? But there's some that didn't, and
there's parts of us that didn't survive. I'll say that.
Well, like I don't think anyone really came out of that unscathed, even those that survived.
It's mutual trauma.
There's a part of them that is definitely different than it was before,
Yeah, it's all mutual hell. Moving on. Let's talk about something else.
All right, yeah.
Downer part.
I know. Boom, boom, boom. You were mentioning something paranormal. I want to hear what you got. A story to share with it's paranormal.
How much time you got?
Go ahead.
I was haunted. I purchased a antique that was a smoking pipe that belonged to a very prolific serial killer, and I was.
Did
haunted.
You know that when you bought it?
Yes, it was.
So
one
you
of those...
bought it with the intention of knowing that like this belonged to a serial.
Yeah, but the problem is it's not just any serial killer. It was Ted Bundy.
Wow, really?
Yeah,
that's cool. So how were you able to authenticate that was the smoking pipe of Ted Bundy?
I never even authenticated it. I'll be completely honest with you. I bought it because my mom worked at this antique shop, and this guy would come in saying, "Oh, I own this. I'm a landlord. I have this apartment that Bundy used to live in," because he was a college student. He was always bouncing around different hunting grounds, unfortunately.
Okay, so it was through that though. That's how. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
I was just curious, like, how did you find out that it was the pipe belonged to this?
Yeah. So I got it from this guy. It was never authenticated. I bought it for $200, dude. I mean, and murderabilia world, that's you laugh at that. It's very
right.
Like I was like, that's kind of a cool story. It could have been Ted's, I don't know. But the things that followed, there's no way that it couldn't have belonged to someone of that evil magnitude. And there's only one person who could have done it, unless Charles Manson, John Wayne Gacy, and these other monsters lived there themselves and hid a smoking pipe in the walls to be found during renovation. There's no one else that could have been. And
okay.
Right now,
so
well,
let's take it for that. So you bought this pipe, and then what happened?
The first event that happened was seeing the silhouette, seeing faces, making phone calls. People would ask if I was dog sitting. I'm like, no, why? They're like, well, we hear growling. And I'm like,
coming out of your apartment or your dwelling, or
just over the phone.
Over the phone
calls.
So they're hearing growling. You're not hearing it, but they are hearing it.
Yeah.
Huh.
It would move. And so I had a case I bought for displaying baseballs, because they had like little cups. I'm like, oh, that works perfect for displaying a pipe, right?
Right.
So I put it in there, and it would shift on its own. And I would jump around it, and I'm like, come on, do something. It would never move, but it would
But when
move.
you'd leave and come back, you would notice that it had moved on you.
It would move in front of my eyes, dude.
Oh, okay. So it would move. Yeah. Did you ever capture that on video, or did you try capturing that on a phone or a camera?
We have several things that we've documented throughout my TikTok.
Okay.
Guillotine 615, shameless plug.
Yeah. No, we're going to plug you anyway.
We have to.
Yeah.
We have to talk about this story. But one of the biggest things, there's a TikTok filter. I mean, take this for what it's worth. It's fucking TikTok. But it's the thing where it senses activity, like thermal, or it just sees,
like
it
it's
does
like a
something.
filter. Yeah, and you walk around, you show the room or whatever, and it lets you know if there's something nearby.
Like something will just pop up, and you're like, ooh, creepy doll. All of a sudden has a person inside of it. You're like, ooh, stop that.
Right.
That happened with me, but when I was pointing it at the Bundy pipe, a face popped up.
Oh, that's creepy. Yeah.
A face. The most prolific thing, I mean, doors were closing. I had several friends of mine that were mediums come over and look at it, and each one had a different story. One woman even went into my closet and said, there's a man standing in the corner with long teeth. And get this, when I sold it to the current owner, we'll get to that part. When I sold it to the current owner, he told me that his wife was seeing a man with long teeth in her dreams. I never told him that.
Wow. That's crazy.
So very creepy.
So that's that connection there that, yeah.
It was very creepy. And so the biggest thing was when I met my partner, Jordan, we were hanging out a lot. I was so happy. One night, we were just watching a show in bed, hanging out, and I looked over at him, and he was disemboweled.
What?
Blood on the walls.
Hallucinations?
Yeah. Visions.
Wow.
It was as clear as I'm seeing you.
Right.
And even creepier, he was kind of laying on the edge of the bed, and his head slid off of his body in this gross, off the side of the bed movement. It was fucking terrible. It was the worst thing ever. And at that moment, the next morning, I went to a bank, my bank, and I put in a security deposit box. And I was like, this fucking thing in there. It's in lead. I'm not even a religious person. I found a rosary and I wrapped it in that because I'm like, I know Ted was religious, so this will do something for it. And I just stuck it in there, and I left it there until I sold it to my friend Kim Anderson, who owns Asylum 49 in Tooele, Utah. And now
I know
he
that
has
place,
it on display. And
wow.
He's had some fucking stories you wouldn't
so
believe, man.
So when you put it in that safety deposit box, then did the things die down for you, or that's how you determined that was the attachment was because of that piece?
Without a doubt, the activity stopped, but it felt like you just got done with
you just got violated and bent over, and
yeah, there's still bodies on the ground. There's still holes and craters in the earth. That's how it feels. You just feel it.
How did you not? How long did it take you to get that image out of your seeing your partner like that? Like, I could imagine that still haunts you. You know what I mean?
It's never gone.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie to you.
Dang, man.
To be completely honest with you, I have nightmares. The fact that it lives there, that I had that connection with both Asylum and the pipe, without a doubt, I say to this day, I have nightmares probably twice a week about that connection.
you're still being haunted by that thing.
In a sense, and maybe it's me not letting go, and I've let go many a time. I've moved on, but it's something that's proof that if you deal with these things that belong to real evil people, that there are attachments, there's repercussions. It's not.
Yeah, well, I'm a firm believer of the paranormal. I geek off on that stuff. I love all the fringe stuff, but I mean, my coworkers laugh at me, but I don't care. They can laugh at me all they want. But great story,
That's
man.
the point. Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. I mean, if you want to, you guys are in Utah, you can go see it. I'll for this, just to even make it more post-Halloween spooky. Talking to him about it, I check in with him quite a bit because I know what it is. So I'm like, I want to know that you're okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
check
I'll say
up on him.
The first night that he got it, his dogs that have long grown up around goats, sheep, cows, just farm animals. The day he got it, those dogs ripped apart one of his goats. The day he got it. Yeah.
What?
The day he got it. And
Like
they
just went mad and decided, I'm going to kill you. And just went after that goat.
Not even just kind of like went after her like, oh, never, hey, you stop that. I'm talking ripped this goat to pieces.
Wow.
Killed it, murdered it, blood everywhere. It was something right out of the fucking Exorcist, man. And I asked him, I'm like, you know, you tell me you have all these creepy things and these creepy articles. I'm like, what's the scariest thing? Even owning a hospital that's haunted, as I know how haunted that fucking place is.
Right. Well, I know that.
What's the most aggressive thing you own? He says, without a doubt, that pipe. Without
Did
a doubt.
You sell it for more than $200? Did you get some money out of it?
Man, I didn't get anything out of it, brother. It was just
I
wanted it gone. I was like, I want it gone.
This is going to change your life for the worse.
And I know him, and I know he is the P.T. Barnum of horror and Halloween. I'm like, brother, I know you're going to do something with it. And the fact, I think me personally, it being in Utah where he liked to be, it just worked out better for everybody.
No, it's cool. It's a cool story, man. That's awesome, Jake. I love it.
Great, thank you. I know.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Usually when I ask people, you know, and they're like, oh, I got a haunted story. And then they tell me something and I'm like, okay, yeah. You know, like, I guess that could be paranormal but nothing is nutter butters is a pipe owned by Ted Bundy that causes dogs to attack a goat. They normally wouldn't. Not attack, shred a goat. Yeah. That's quite the chain of events. Yeah, good times.
Yeah,
good times.
Yeah.
Good times.
When you encounter an item that teaches you the definition of evil, that's cool.
Yeah, no, I think that'd probably make me.
Maybe I'll make a song out of it or something. I don't know.
Yeah, you should.
Why not call it haunted? That's cool.
Haunted goes great with Guillotine.
Haunted.
So yeah,
it's right
you
on.
Do
par.
a whole EP
right on
on
brand.
that. Yeah, right on brand. Yep. So all right. So trying to think of some other things.
What's next for Guillotine right now? I mean, what are you guys currently working on? What have you got, stuff coming down the pike? I know that you guys incorporate a lot of freak show stuff in your live shows. I was able to, I was watching a few videos and everything, and I watched a bit of your 9 Inch Nails cover, and you guys got a little S&M stuff going up on the stage, and just this. I mean, so it's like it's because you were talking about how you visually presenting the music and everything, and it's not just three guys on stage wearing funky makeup, playing aggressive music that really grabs you and isn't just hard for the sake of being hard, but it's music. But there's show going on. There's stuff to see. It's a feast for all of the senses, man.
It's a show, and like I said, I'm a WWE fan, so it should be lowbrow entertainment.
Nice, nice, man. No, it's awesome. So, do you guys what's next for you guys? What do you got coming on next?
I have ideas, obviously relating to the conversation we've had just now. I have songs I've been writing for quite a while. Now we're in winter. It's slow month here in Nashville, so it's just until spring break in March, I'm just riding. You're just chilling, riding it out and doing a whole lot of writing. And right now I'm sitting here looking at a slew of guitars, and this is my studio rig. So I'm looking at this going, what is going to come out of me in the next couple of months? And that's the big thing, is just always writing. I'm never not writing, but the big thing into this next year is just shows, doing horror cons,
a lot of touring.
And not even so much touring. I mean, there's so many cities that surround,
okay, like performance. Yeah, just be busy playing gigs.
Yeah, like unfortunately for us, when we did the first tour with Cyclone 9, we went out to California, all the way to New York, then ended in Colorado, then we had to drive to Nashville. We went around the country practically 3 times.
Right.
It's a lot.
I love how tours work out like that.
It's so much money, man. And you got to sell a lot of t-shirts to do that, man. A lot of t-shirts. And we didn't. And so my thing now is like, I want to go to where I know my audience is, which is regional, and we have social media to reach other people.
Do you do live streams? Do you guys do a live stream setup on stuff like where you're playing? Have you thought about that? Like marketing a whole... Yeah, like you go to a gig, whatever the gig, but you actually live stream the gig.
Yeah, we've done some live streams. We've done just even like live jams. Like, hey, we're at the unit about to go into wherever we're playing. We're doing a warm up before we go. You're going to watch it, like stuff like that. Just little behind the curtain things. You know, it's socials. I mean, literally with social media, it's everything, everywhere, all at once. So
it is, and I don't know. Like to me, like it is like social media is like a necessary evil, but I'd rather not deal with it. You know what I mean? It's like, I feel like sometimes, unless you embrace it in a certain way, at least for me, maybe it's, you know, just my age being a Gen Xer, but it's like, you'd rather just be doing music, you know, like I don't want to spend time trying to capture people's 3-second attention by, you know, creating this content and stuff. But there's some that are just really good at it. And I wouldn't say that I'm horrible at it either. I just don't, you know, like, I just wish it was different.
Well, you know, and you know, speaking of social media and the 3-second attention span, that, you know, to me makes creating something like a concept album or multiple concept albums that tie into each other even more challenging to market, but also more rewarding, just because we are living in a time now where it is the 5-second attention span. Is this video going to grab my attention, or am I just going to go ahead and swipe and scroll by, or whatever, you know?
Man, if you got 3 seconds with a person, congrats. Like, that's my opinion now. I think you got maybe half a second with a human being if you're lucky. And the attention span is very difficult. And really what it comes down to is how interesting are you? What's your art? What are you trying to make? And it is very difficult for us, especially with the adult themes that we have in our shows. It's difficult because people could flag it and say, this is inappropriate. This is this is that. So, I mean, that's the reason why, frankly, in the majority of the shows, we don't have a lot of the sideshow stuff with us now. It's just the band, and we still provide a show. Don't get me wrong, but the sideshow is a rarity with Guillotine now. But it's still, nonetheless, it's part of who we are, because obviously we've established it. And down the road, where it's like, hey, we're doing a major tour, and we can afford this. We want artists. We want people on stage with us doing a great show. Then we can cross that bridge when we get there.
Well, right. So you know, so the next few months you'll be writing, you'll kind of laying low, waiting for spring break. Spring break hits. What is your show schedule like? Once spring comes and you're picking up, you know, is it consistently like multiple shows a week, or is it, you know, how where do you find that critical mass? Like, is it based on, you know, where you're playing, or do you try to stick to a certain number of shows a month when you get into your busy season?
When it comes busy season, man, it's hit it and hit it hard. That's how we feel, to a point where it's either every week or every other week we're doing a show, if not 2 or 3 shows. It's just consistent. So bare minimum with Guillotine, we're doing 100 shows a year, because we're doing that many weekends, that many repeat things. We have the residency downtown in Nashville, and it's a lot of work. That's why we stay tight. It's just playing. And
do Do you have your own practice space or rental studio that you guys like? How does that work out there?
We have, believe it or not, there's a storage unit in Nashville that just accepted that musicians use storage units for rehearsal spaces, and they're like,
we used to do it all the time out here, and we got busted. We got busted one time.
They're cool. They're cool with it though. You walk in there, it's like, look, it's like, if you want to take us down, if you're gonna take me down, you have to take all of us down, and that's when they lose literally 90% of their people renting out those spaces.
Happened. Yeah.
Screw it. You're making money.
It was great while it lasted.
Well, I mean, I think that there's inherently some cultural differences between Nashville and Centerville, Utah, though.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true. I mean, it's just funny because you brought that up, but we had there was like, I was even turned on to it because I think it was a friend of mine was in a band. I'm like, oh, there's a band playing in a storage unit. This is cool, you know. And they're like, yeah, this is great. Nobody comes, because it was outside of like any residential or neighborhoods. Like, it was just kind of in the middle of nowhere. So as long as you were there and the owner that owned the property wasn't there, like, you could have ragers there all night, you know, like nobody was going to hear anything. It was like a back road to get to. It was ideal. But there was no real power. So you'd have to like bunch up a couple of extension cords and run them outside to the two power sources on each, you know, and one.
Dude.
Yeah.
Get this. In our place, get this. So we go into the unit. There's no light switch. On the outside, there's a little dial you have to turn past a certain point.
That's like a timer dial?
Yeah, like a timer dial. So we go grab our gaff tape and we tape the fuck out of this thing so it doesn't move, because
it doesn't shut down on you.
Yeah, I mean, I have a
that's great,
100 watt. I have a 100-watt tube head in there. If all of a sudden it dies, my amp dies, and I'm like, oh shit. So I can have that. And we run a lot of pieces, dude. That's the hardest part too. It's like, that's why I don't hire a second guitar player, because we have to hire a crew guy just to help us with all the pieces, because there's fog machines and
I was gonna say, you guys
artwork.
use a lot of props too, and
a lot of visuals.
Yeah.
Do you remember the band Cradle of Filth from the 90s and 2000s? Remember them?
The name sounds familiar, but
like, if you ever watched Viva La Bam or Jackass, they've popped up on there a couple times.
Yeah.
But their visuals are fantastic, and we work with their graphic team.
Cool.
Drake Mephisto and his wife, they're the best graphic artists I've ever fucking worked with in my life. They've done everything you see visually with all the jagged neon green and all that, and the cool, that's them. So
awesome.
Nonetheless,
that's cool.
It takes a lot.
So did they have a big hand in like designing the visuals on your website too?
Oh, it's all them.
Okay, because it's stunning, man. You go to the website, and it's just it's that neon green, but it's it's video moving there. You've got all of your icons, and you know where to go with it and everything. It's very well laid out. It really is, and it draws you in. It makes you want to dive deeper. It's not just, hey, look, there's a website with some information on it and a couple of pictures. It's like it pulls you in, and it doesn't let you go. It makes you want more.
Yeah, as it should be. There's, as you've seen with me and my ADD, there's so many layers. So as should the website, you know, it should be a place you want to explore and wander around and click things and play with things. And I'm like, how can we make it even more fun? What other options do we have?
I mean, a lot of bands don't even really, you know, like, they've almost given up on the whole website thing altogether, you know, like, they just kind of just stick with social media, you know.
Nothing I hate worse than when someone does just like a Bandcamp thing, and they don't have an actual website. Yeah, it's all they do. Yeah. It's just like, here's our Bandcamp shop, and it's hard to
Reverb
order.
Nation. Check out my Reverb Nation page.
Yeah, it feels sketchy. It feels like,
it feels like you didn't try.
No, it should be a world. Like, I mean, if you're just a band out there cutting your teeth, then that's a great place to start. I mean, I did it for a while. I got no shame in that.
I mean, I think we all start that way. Like,
yeah.
But no, and if I remember right, your when he was talking about your website, it's like, as you scroll down, things kind of pop in and out. Like, they kind of scroll in and out. Is that remember the right for the? I don't remember now. But what's the handle for your website? Where do people find your website?
So it's guillotineband.com, GUILLOTINE band.com.
Okay.
On social media, it's Guillotine 615, because that's the Nashville area code. You can find us that way. And come visit us, come subscribe. We're always sending out emails for like 20% off. We just got these new army green hoodies. Kind of hard to tell because my camera sucks, but I got chains on it and stuff. We have some really fun merch.
And you have that cool shirt that's like a rib cage with the the skeleton rib cage thing.
Yeah, it glows in the dark.
I'm probably gonna buy that. Actually, I think it's gonna
get it. Thank you.
Glows in the dark because
I'll throw in some
because it has
does it glow in the dark too?
It glows in the dark. Yeah.
Oh shit. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I know
what the people want, and I mean, again, like I talked about before, we're wrestling nerds. I don't know. We may do a Stone Cold Steve Austin kind of shirt. I don't know. I've just if the people ask for it, I don't know.
Well, I can tell you this: Guillotine's packaged very well. Your brand's on point. The look, the brand, like the music, the visuals, it all ties in very well. You've done a really good job putting all that together, and I'm sure you had plenty of help too. But I'm gonna just put all that credit on you, and you can distribute that accordingly. But
I'm the wrangler.
It looks really good, man, and the music's great.
Thank you.
Like I love it. Let's see if I wanted real quick. There's a couple things. I always do this. If you could tell, given your experience in the industry and the evolution of your band's sound, what one piece of advice would you give somebody who's just up and coming, wanting to start doing music, or not just music in general, like pick up the guitar, but I mean like to a new level, like your level, like they're looking at you and going, I want to be like Jake. What would be the first bit of advice?
Trust the process.
There you go.
It's going to hurt. You're going to lose people. You're going to lose friends. You're going to go through some shit. You're going to lose money. Best way to put it is that during this process, you're going to learn to eat your plate of shit and learn to like the taste. That's period. And it's not fun. We lost a person. We lost Jim during this process with, our producer, Jim. We lost him to COVID. We lost thousands of dollars in just the work of just figuring it out and trusting the wrong people. If an offer seems too good to be true, it usually is. And focus on yourself. Okay, if you're going to put your chips down on the table in this business, put it on yourself. And watch as many YouTube videos that you can about how to run Spotify and YouTube, Instagram, TikTok ads.
Cool.
Advertising, period. Just learn marketing and advertising.
Nice.
And trust the process.
Good. I love it, man. What's funny is like, not a lot of, so far, we're fairly new at this, right? So we were like this, like, our project Z Frequency was like, hey, we're this band. And then we decided, hey, it'd be fun to do a podcast on the side. And then we started this up, and I was thinking, man, I'm never going to get anybody to come on this show or whatever. But now it's becoming the point where it's like, now we're a podcast. And we have this like band thing on the side. But out of all of the guests that we've had so far, and you're the 9th one, nobody has mentioned music advertising as like something they should take seriously.
Absolutely.
And I'm a huge fan of that.
Art.
Like, yeah, I've been.
It's advertising.
Right. Well, because it's never been easier to put yourself out there now than like ever before, like, because like Spotify, like there's 100,000 or 60,000 songs being uploaded every single day, which is great. But there's that same problem is there's 60,000 songs being uploaded every single day. So how else are you going to get your name out? Yeah, it has to be. There has to be a way for you to put yourself in front of the herd, if you will.
If you wanted to sit down and just study something, I mean, people are giving me books and things. This is what I like. I'm more just like, give me the goods right off the bat and I can figure it out from there. Watch the Netflix documentary about Vince McMahon, because that's an idea guy. That dude knows how to target an audience, and you can learn from him how to apply it to your audience. He learned, also another guy who's very similar to Vince is Doc McGee. So listening to anything by Doc McGee, his interviews, podcasts, the Bon Jovi Hulu documentary was a great one too, because Doc was so involved with the documentary and talking about how he got Bon Jovi so big, and like they were nobodies, but then they did the Slippery When Wet music video and made them look like rock stars in a huge arena. For the longest time, I thought like, oh, you're playing arenas, that you just filmed it at your show. And then I watched the documentary and I'm like, oh, that was bullshit.
But you didn't know. You know what I mean? And nobody else knew. Yeah. Bullshit sells, I guess, though. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? It's
well, it worked.
It's not a lie, but it's hype. You know,
but it worked, though. That's the thing.
It worked.
It worked. I heard the story. It was about, I think it was Kansas or something. But they were playing at this bar or whatever, and one of their friends or somebody said, "Hey, so-and-so," which was like an A&R rep or owner of a record company, said, "They heard about you. They want to come see you play." And so they went around and put out flyers saying, "Free beer if you come to this bar on this night." And they paid for everyone to drink free beer. So like people that didn't even know Kansas showed up to this bar to see this band play because they got free beer. Well, this guy shows up, this record player guy or owner label guy shows up, and he sees this place is just packed, you know, and he had no idea that band had paid for everybody to drink, and that's why everybody was there. But to him, it was like, though, everybody, they just played, these guys are happening, and then they ended up getting a record deal from that. So
and it works out great because you're getting people hammered, and at that point, they don't care. They're just liking the music.
They're having a great time.
Maybe the more you drink, the better we sound, baby.
It's like, dude, Kansas bought me a beer, and I got fucked up, and I had a great time, and I love Kansas the rest of my life.
I'm a fan for life.
Yeah, they're like, next thing I know, they're getting signed, you know, like, I was there first, you know? But yeah.
Well, I mean, like, it's all about marketing and having fun with the people. That's why we did our Execution by Guillotine. Alice Cooper couldn't sell tickets at a show in London, so they plastered him with a snake across his crotch, broke it. They put it on the side of a bus. They broke it down in Piccadilly Square and caused a traffic jam, and they sold out the show. So it's all about having fun with people. It should be fun. It should be beyond just, I'm looking at my phone, I'm looking at a magazine. It's like when you actually reach out and touch. You know, it's kind of creepy looking at the camera. It's like when you reach out and touch people. When you actually reach out and touch.
It just touched you, guys. It just touched you.
I touched you.
Yeah.
Don't sue me. But when you reach out and you touch the people and you get that connection and emotion, that's where it's everything, and it's fun. And it should be fun, damn it. Like, it's art. Like, another thing, don't take yourself so serious. You know? Like, it's all bullshit. It's all art. We're all emotional. Oh, here's my feelings. Like,
the one thing I used to hate playing gigs with a bunch of bands, because, like, you know, before this, I was in a band called Hooray Hoo, and this is back in like late 90s, and we played with all kinds of bands back then. They're all local bands, but the ones that always drove me crazy were the bands that were just like uber super serious. Like they couldn't worse. And it was like
well, and even more than that. Like I remember back before Hooray Hoo, when we were playing in a band called Catfish. We got picked to play at Saltaire with X96 was putting on a show, and they picked a couple of local bands to open the show, and it was Soul Coughing was headlining, and then there was a band from Vallejo. Called Vallejo that was with them, and they were touring, and then it was Catfish, and I think it was Elbowfin, a local band from Salt Lake, and so we were playing, and the guys from Soul Coughing was cool as hell. Vallejo, we stood on the back dock when there used to be a lake behind Saltaire, and smoked a joint with those cats. Elbowfin were so fucking full of themselves and just kind of, oh, there's those guys from Catfish.
Yeah, they were.
It's like the touring acts were totally cool. Soul Coughing borrowed our drummer's hi-hat. We were just kind of kicking it with them all night, and Elbowfin was just too good to.
Yeah,
whatever.
They're just above everybody. Yeah. And I just thought, who are you, man? Come on.
Yeah. I've had a handful of experiences with artists that were just God's gift to the world, and just God help us all.
I believe you, especially coming in Nashville. Like, I would imagine most of the people there are probably pretty cool, but then every now and then you get those that are like,
I mean, I've dealt with artists. I mean, first of all, like, I've met Paul McCartney in Madison Square Garden, one of the nicest dudes in the world. He was so cool. I mean, that's a Beatle. You can't beat.
Oh yeah, no, he's my
Paul
hero.
McCartney. You've capped.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah,
boom.
yeah.
You're one of the biggest humans known to history. And but then I've done shows with these artists who just dress all posery, and like we're trying to get set up backstage, and they're busting into the dressing room to do a line of coke on a table, and you're like, who the fuck are you, man? And you're just
Like really?
I've had to yell at people a couple of times. And when you're 6'8", that does come in handy.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. I forgot how tall you were, man.
And I'm just
that's right. That's right. So
yeah. The reality, I'm turning around to my guys going, "How was that? Did I sound tough? Did I?"
Yeah. They're like, "Oh,
was I menacing? Was I intimidating? Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. A little bit. Yeah.
Was I cool? Really?"
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Hysterical. I love it.
Well, I think we've covered a lot. The only thing I didn't ever get out of you was your rant about Spotify.
Fuck Spotify. That's all I got. That's all I got.
Succinct and to the point.
I hope that as much as I have to put into Spotify to keep my numbers up, it's a shame because monthly listeners, they fluctuate so much, and all that people care about is how many Spotify listeners do you have, and you can have 5,000 one day and literally 2,000 the next.
I know. I struggle.
Listeners.
I struggle with it.
It's terrible, and it's just a money pit. And I'm sitting here going, "This is bullshit." And I think it's something where whatever streaming deals are happening with movies and film, it's what's happening with Netflix. Because obviously that's a different level, and not everyone can just go make a movie and get it on Netflix. But where any schlub can go put it on Spotify, there needs to be some kind of monetization where at least people are getting paid better. And,
no, I agree. I think it's
frankly, total Roman Empire collapse. I think it should be just an absolute dare say a bankruptcy of the business, just so we can rebuild it and we can make more money off of it. Because people also forget on tours, big or small, how many people are employed and are relying on paychecks or t-shirt sales just to make it, because Spotify can't pay us enough. That's wrong.
Right. Well, and then nobody listens to, they used to be, you could at least get album sales, or like you would go to the shows and we'd have, boxes of CDs, and that's how, like, we made a lot of money on shirts and CDs, so we were selling physical media. But I agree with you. I think Spotify, unfortunately, is the metrics. That's like the playing field that we have to play with if you want to reach out to others beyond. And the unfortunate thing is there's a lot of really talented artists out there that don't really subscribe to Spotify or could give a rat's ass about how it does. But unfortunately, like, a lot of these other venues and stuff use those measurements, those vanity metrics, to gauge whether you only have 500 followers. So how could you really pack the place, And
I get it, because they want to sell tickets too. I want to sell tickets, but it's a chicken and the egg situation where it's like, what matters more, the venue that draws the people or the band that draws the people to the venue? It's like it's a what happens
well, and
here?
it should be a win-win. Like, you would think the venue should have like this consistent, like, they might have a small portion, let's say 10-15%, that are casual, like they're regulars, right? They're going to come all the time. They love the place. They don't even care what band's playing. They're going to support them because it's just the cool thing to do. The rest of that should be on the band itself and their fans coming to see them play, So I think like you said, I think it's a win-win for both when they do it. It's unfortunate that venues or even people will gauge whether they can even listen to your song based on like, well, this thing only has 1,000 streams. It can't be that good, you know? And
look at a place like the CBGB, man. Without that one club, we wouldn't have Rob Zombie, the Ramones, the Police, or Blondie. Correct. That's a weird thought. And there's a problem in the system.
There is.
Period.
I think, and it's funny that you mentioned Bandcamp, but Bandcamp, even though as old as it is probably one of the best direct, artist to consumer form of payment, as far as like being able to support an artist like effectively that they can take pride in it too. The problem is just nobody, why would I want to go out of my way with like something like Bandcamp to listen to music when I've got Spotify on every, all my mobile devices, on my damn TV, on my laptop. It's like, it's everywhere, so it's even on like my car stereo, it just comes built in. And so there's this, like, it's tough. And I think marketing might be a way to steer people to a different format, like a different way to get them off Spotify. And I listened to a guy talk about, and it was on YouTube, but he was saying, instead of using Spotify as your metric, use it as like your teaser, so don't give everything out on Spotify. Don't distribute all of your good stuff on Spotify. Use just like a couple of stuff, like that'd be like the taste test, like you're going to Costco and they got the food out or whatever. Like that's the kind of stuff that people can find you on Spotify. But if they want the real good stuff, they'd have to go to like your website or Bandcamp or something like that.
I can agree with that, but at the same time, where Spotify has us by the balls is that it's so convenient and that you can discover so many artists.
Yeah, you're right. It wouldn't work.
It's everywhere.
Right.
Yeah, people are much more likely to listen to your free samples on Spotify, and instead of going further down that rabbit hole, they'll stay where they are and go find something else that sounds similar or different, but just to stay there.
Yeah, it's messed up. But at the same time, too, I get it where it's kind of like, don't do everything all at once. Don't give them everything. And I do agree with that to an extent. But there's also that point where what I've kind of learned from social media is that there are the divisions of things where it's like, where you're selling the most merch. Here's where you're getting the most interaction. You're getting the most traction for doing this little niche thing over here. Here's where your people are hearing music. You learn this shit. And it's just weird. You kind of place yourself in different categories of how you function as an artist within social media brackets.
Yep. And then double down on what's working,
Exactly. And just put most of your barrels in that direction, pretty much. But with Spotify, it's something that's bankrupting radio.
Yeah. Well, it's ruined a lot of things. It's hurting labels. It's hurt physical media. It used to be a thing to get CDs. Like that was kind of like the rite of passage, especially like supporting local bands. That was the one thing I always picked up going to a show. I was like, where's your CDs? I'd always buy them.
They still sell. I think it's
because
people.
And
I sold. That's one of my most recent selling things where I'm like, I don't have any more of this thing to sell. Is because I don't have any more CDs because people bought them, and I'm like, that says a lot. They bought cool
and like,
T-shirts.
A lot of people
CDs.
don't even listen to them anymore. Like it's almost getting hard to find CD decks to even play this stuff, but that's not the point. The point is like it's something physically they can take home with them. I think people miss that.
I think people are fans of the inconvenient. That's why we love vinyl and CDs.
And cassette tapes are making a comeback, man.
That's fucking weird to me, dude. But like vinyl, it's kind of cool to see it spin. It's like, this
oh yeah, I love vinyl.
This fancy
I just
thing.
bought two records
cool.
lately. Yeah, I just recently bought 2 vinyl. I want a vinyl. You should do like.
Sorry, this is so messed up. I have to get this out of my skull. How messed up is it in this world with the heavy metal? Everything has to be damn black. You have to have a black T-shirt, black this, black that. But when it comes to your vinyl, it's got to be a mess of Skittle colors and just
or
splatter,
white, or blue, or
glow in the dark, or filled with liquid. It's bullshit. Yeah. So sorry,
I've never understood like if it's metal, if it's a metal band, why does it always have to have like this like spiky logo? Like
can't read it.
Yeah,
that you can't read.
Right.
But you know what though? I can spot a Kiss logo from a mile away.
Absolutely.
I'm just saying, man, Kiss wrote the book for marketing for a band, man. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is that, man, with Kiss, you don't even have to see faces. You can see just the graphic of the face paint patterns, and you know who the fuck that is.
Yeah, you can see someone terribly trying to draw it on, and you're like, you're trying to be Gene Simmons or Paul Stanley. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
It's that good. That's the thing.
Right.
It's that.
Well, and that's what I kind of like about Guillotine, too, is that you kind of incorporate a little bit of that Kiss in there. They put some Kiss flavor in there with the makeup, and it's cool.
I wish I could show you my living room. I have literally the 79 or 78 Kiss pinball machine.
Oh man, cool. I can see it right now in my head, man. Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'll send you a
us a picture, and I'll put it up as a promo reel.
Well, but before we wrap things up, there is one question that we try to ask all of our guests, and we got so into all of the other tangents, and that's awesome. That is honestly, that is one of my favorite parts of this damn podcast. Is not when we stick and we're structured. It's when we go down these weird fucking little rabbit holes and we get on all of these different tangents because I figure you can go anywhere and get the 20 questions answered and all of that stuff. But but you really don't get to know the personality of an artist, what makes them tick, what drives them, unless you get down into the nitty gritty like that and go down these weird tangents and these side streets. But
we didn't even look at our outline, but maybe once or twice this whole time.
That's great. I never look at it
awesome.
anyway.
No, that's great. Yeah,
it's been a wonderful conversation, man.
But one question that we do like to ask is that, do you remember, as coming up through, we call it the aha moment, where it's like a moment in time where it clicked in your head and you said, that's what I want to do. Whether it's at a show or watching MTV or watching somebody else play, but was there a moment that you can draw back to where you said, that is what I want to do. I want to play. I want to entertain. I want to be on stage.
Man, are we talking more of an aha for like a specific moment for like, I want to do Guillotine or Industrial? Are we talking
just
about
period?
Period.
Just in general, this is what drove you, put you on this path to what became Guillotine.
What became Jake Johnson as a performer, really?
That's a good
Normally
question.
We ask this question like way back. Yeah. Like it's usually one of the first questions we ask. So,
when I had the tubes put into my ears and I was able to hear music for the first time, coincidentally, one of my first memories, because you know how it is, like you just remember like flashes of infancy. You don't remember anything from when you're a child.
Yeah.
You're lucky to have like
so much of those
picture.
Too can be stuff that your brain has filled in from hearing stories of when you were that age or whatever.
And you kind of morph it into an image. Right?
Yeah, I think maybe you might have flashes of memory from certain memory. I have some memories of me when I was 3 years old. They're not a lot. They're not vague, like this dramatic memories, but they're flashes of certain things. Like I was in a certain place. I remember the carpet, the way it looked. I remember playing with a Hot Wheels car.
So how old were you when you had your tubes put in?
I was probably 3 or 4 years old. I was that young.
Yeah, that's about when the wheels start turning. So
yeah, it's when you start to kind of become aware of your surroundings and you're more conscious, I guess is the way of putting it. But I remember holding a Kiss CD in one hand, not even one of their best CDs. I just saw the cool face paint. I'm like, that's fucking cool. And then I had a Frankenstein figure in the other hand. And at that moment, it's like, that's me. That's it. I mean, like you can even see I have the monster on my hands.
Yeah.
Other hand, hold on. That's the bride. That's the monster. So
there you go.
That's how much they mean to me, man. I got other Kiss tattoos on my body, but that's how much they mean to me. That's what I want to do, and that's my life is just rock and metal and horror. That's my whole world. But in terms of to add this one to it, to be a guitar player, what was like a defining moment was the first time hearing Van Halen. At that point, you're just like, holy shit, what is that? And that you're like, humans don't make guitars sound like that. What is that? That's so cool. And then that's my rabbit hole.
Then you add the swagger of David Lee Roth, and I'm like, you just
forget about it.
Yeah.
Forget about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Forget about it. Come on, man. Hagar Who, come on. We're here for David Lee Roth and Cocaine Ninja Kicks. Come on. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Damn right, man.
So
it's good. Come on.
Yeah.
Love it.
Well, cool, Jake. I'm glad you came on, man. We'll have to have you back.
Absolutely. Let's do a follow-up. As also, I'm planning on being in Utah in the near future just for shows and projects. So by all means, we have to
definitely keep us posted because I have added a Guillotine show to my bucket list of things I must fucking see.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. It's a good time. There's fire and boobs. It's cool.
Two of my favorite things.
Yeah, fire and boobs, that we said.
It worked for Kiss and Vince McMahon. I'm just trying to follow in their footsteps. Come on,
man. You find out what works and you go with it, baby.
I sell black T-shirts, man. Come on.
Yeah, it's always a winner though. Black is.
It is.
Black really is always is gold, So
$25 at a time. Well, thanks, boys. I really appreciate this very much.
All right, man.
Thanks, Jake.
Until next
appreciate
time,
you, man.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Peace.
Hey, Z-Fam, thanks for hanging out with us on another episode of the ZHZ Podcast. We hope you've enjoyed our chat with Jake Johnson from Guillotine.
Yeah, it was awesome hearing about Jake's incredible journey. Make sure to check out Guillotine's music on all streaming platforms and follow them on social media. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more cool interviews.
Next up, we've got Scarlet Rain, a hard rock band that really turns it up to 11. Their female vocalist shreds, and their lyrics hit deep, telling stories with real emotion.
Their music is an emotional roller coaster with roaring guitars, thumping rhythms, spine-tingling screams. This isn't just rock, it's Scarlet Rain. You definitely don't want to miss it.
Nope, until then, keep creating and stay inspired.
Catch you next time on the ZHZ Podcast.